Well, it's a massive gap, and like you see, it's a dynamic thing. It has to do with demographics, it has to do with opportunities in different sectors. But we have refused to focus on the gap. Rather, we're focusing more on the impact of our expenditure on reducing that deficit and the impact of that expenditure on the well-being of the people, opportunities that are available to them. So in the last 2.5 years, if you like, we have started the process, but we hope that we'll have the opportunity to continue that process and consolidate on the gains of what we had in the last 3.5 years.
Commissioner, you mentioned the deficit. What are we looking at here? We know that there is targets to keep it below 2% of GDP in Lagos. And also just looking at the revenue streams that you're expecting, of course, borrowing being an option, but also looking at taxes. Any changes on that?
Well, we're working quietly on some review of our fiscal regime, tax structures. I believe in the next year, we shall be implementing some of those new measures. In the last 18 months, we've been trying to build the capacity of government to sustain a new fiscal regime in fiscal planning and other areas where we believe a better climate for investment is required before we can benefit from a new regime. And I think by the time we launch that regime, our revenues will increase. Hopefully, by middle of next year, something will give.
Commissioner, also just touching on what the focus will be. We know that infrastructure from a railway and roads perspective, so in other words, transport infrastructure needs to be a key focus because we know of the congestion that occurs in Lagos. What kind of money is going to be allocated, looking at the commercial real estate property side of things, residential, and then looking at transport, which of course is quite pertinent?
Well, the key sectors in Lagos, transportation, real estate, as economic sectors, if you like, health and education and social sectors. We feel focused on these sectors, and I think the governor made allusions to power as a key sector. Yeah. Addressing these sectors will help us in dealing with the massive structures. And right now we're going to deep sectoral plans for these sectors to begin to make a difference that will be more meaningful and over time will help the people have a better quality of life. You talked about transportation. If you remember, our BRT has made substantial impact on the quality of life of people. We hope by next year we'll extend that BRT into Ikorodu town, which is a major nodal town. The initiative of a Lagos light rail system is being fast-tracked. We hope to continue the implementation. We've started that implementation. We believe that in the next 18 months, we should be able to tell a more credible story as to how that implementation will go. Okay. And the gap we're talking about is massive. Lagos has suffered from over 30 years of infrastructure gap, and we believe it will take a minimum of at least 10 years to begin to show in very real terms changes that are massive in our infrastructure.
Commissioner, very quickly, you mentioned energy, that being the big hindrance, I would say, coming through for Nigeria. And also looking at some of the comments that Governor Sanusi made a short while ago, talking about the non-availability of long-term funds. Do you think that that will be the biggest challenge in ensuring that Lagos does reach its 2020 goal?
Well, Lagos we're working quietly towards managing that risk with the central bank and other institutions that are involved. In the past, we've been our bonds. We believe with the help of the central bank, we can begin to stretch it further and address critical sectors that require such long-term fundings. We're also working with major international institutional lenders to establish a structure of assessing such funds. I think it would be a little bit premature to go into specifics at this point, but the initiatives we're moving very fast, and we hope that in the next 18 months there won't be such a mystery anymore.